Welcome. It's the 5th episode of Viper's Voices. Very pleased to be joined by a man who essentially needs no introduction. 5-year Viper veteran and Viper resident, Jagger Williamson. Jagger, thanks for taking the time to join the show.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This is a lot of fun. We're through 4 episodes, and it seems like it's something that people are really enjoying, getting to hear some unique stories. And Jagger, fair to say, I mean, looking at some of the notes and the numbers that I wrote down, you've got a very interesting storied junior career in Vernon. So we're sort of going to let loose, share some stories, some comments, some emotions, and probably take you back down memory lane a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. This is looking forward to this. Obviously, 5 years. That's a long time, and damn, it went by so fast. A lot of memories, a lot of stories on and off the ice, and a lot of great people I've met through, and a dream come true for me. So I'm excited to kind of tell these stories and give some fans a little bit of my side that maybe they haven't seen or seen throughout my 5 years in Vernon. So I'm excited.
Let's go back to the beginning. So a lot of people know that you played minor hockey in Vernon, but it doesn't even start there. You grew up in the little community, but very important community of Lumby. My son's played minor hockey there. And this past year, you played minor hockey there. I called it the house that Jagger built, which may have been an overstatement. But, I mean, what was it like playing minor hockey in Lumby and the progression and the development you were able to get?
It was good. It was cool. It was different, obviously. I don't know. They considered it a village. I think we had 1,100 people. So it's super small. You know everyone. Everyone knows who you are. But growing up, yeah, Lumby, we had a very, obviously, small association. Adam and Pee-wee. I remember, so Pee-wee, I can start remembering. I played 3 years. So I played as an underage in Lumby, which I guess you could do that because it's so small. And I was a little better than the people my age, so I bumped up. My brother's a year older with me, so just worked out. We were on the same team together. And so I played 1 year underage in Pee-wee in Lumby. This is Pee-wee tier 4, right? Because we can't get any tier 1 or tier 2. We don't have the numbers. So this is tier 4. So played underage, and then I played my first year legally Pee-wee captain. That was a great year. I know it's tier 4 and all that, but we won provincials that year. I was captain. My brother was on a team against Revelstoke, so in Chase. So it was cool. So that was 2 years in Lumby, and then kind of came down to getting a little older and kind of realizing this is what I want to do and invest in it. And so we made the decision and we're living in Lumby, and we're, I would say, half hour outside of Lumby. So we're like Maple Lake. So and we're playing in Vernon. So we're driving, me and my dad, I think Monday, I know we practice, I think 2-3 times a week, 2 night practices, 1 early morning. So this is so much driving. I think we're an hour 15 in just to practice. So we're putting on miles, and we decided to move to Vernon my 3rd year Pee-wee. And that was awesome. Obviously so much more talent. I think we are tier 2 now. And I actually came in, I was actually captain, which again, a big leadership role. And I think that's where it kind of started and kind of settled in. Obviously all the new people, because I'm from Lumby, don't know anyone, meet so much new people, and had a great year. The Winter Classic, the big Coca-Cola Classic Pee-wee Winter Carnival tournament. It was just so cool that year. So yeah, that's where it started. All the Lumby, man. Those were the roots. That's really still call home where people ask me I'm from Lumby, and where is that? Like, there's just a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere. So that's where it all started for sure. And it's nice to go give back. I mean, still go back there to the rink, to Pat Duke. So many memories, man. Yeah, that was a great place. And then Vernon kind of carried on from there, and here I am.
It's quite a special rink. I mean, my son just finished his first year of initiation, and they had 40 kids. Like they had a huge outpouring of kids, and obviously hockey's a big part of the community. Did you know right away that you wanted to be a hockey player? And at what point did you sort of take a look in the mirror and go, you know what, I might actually be able to play this at a very high level? And like some players, did you ever have the allure from the Western Hockey League? I ask this a lot to junior A guys who have spent most of their career in junior A. At what point was there interest? Was there a thought process about where you're going to go? A lot of times it's a fork in the road, and you're never sure what the right decision is, and you're pretty young when you have to make it. So what was that process like for you as you started to develop into an older hockey player?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a massive process. I think all the young kids go through it. It's a bantam draft, I think, is when you're talking to so many people and learning which way to go, the junior A NCAA route or the WHL. So, I mean, there's so many different rules and regulations, and to accept you can take this from the dub and you can't go, like, there's so many things. So going through that process, I mean, this was bantam. And I remember the BC Cup. So I wasn't really a top player at that time. I was just kind of middle. I was honestly bottom. And I had a really good, the BC camp, BC Cup, sorry. It was in Salmon Arm. And I was on a line with Caleb Fantillo and Davis Kosh, like two players that I thought were way above my level. And my coach I thought just maybe a fit. And at this time, this was in Salmon Arm, right? And I was not ranked in, Barbaros and Fabro and Hanoun and all the stars are there. And I think that's where I kind of got recognized a little bit. After that, I think it was a week after the Bantam draft. And I think that's when I got drafted by Seattle in the 6th round, 122nd overall. So that's when it came to like, oh my, like I really got to make a decision here. Like I don't know many rules, obviously a lot of talks with the family and mom and dad and just learning and which way would be best for me. So this Seattle went down as a 15-year-old, and this is where it got really complicated. And it really probably my big first hockey choice in my career was the Vernon or the Seattle route, obviously, because that was a year I was 15, just finished my first year midget. I was talking to Salmon Arm, and Troy Mick and Larry Black, and they really wanted me, but they wanted me for my 16-year-old. They wanted me to go play another year midget and then come to Salmon Arm. So, and I always. I mean, I felt like I could make the jump. Obviously, I think I was 150 soaking wet. Like I knew I had a lot of work to do, but to get that jump and to play into major junior or junior A. So yeah, it just came down to my family, a lot of family talks and a lot of talking to people who know hockey and kind of what's my best play style and where do I fit. And it came down to junior A and obviously a dream come true to be in Vernon and obviously the Salmon Arm wanted me for a 17-year-old year, but I really wanted Vernon. So Williamson, I think, was a coach at that time, and we had a meeting that summer, and that's when they committed to me, and I was probably the happiest I've ever been. And obviously Willie kind of left, and Ferns came in, and the rest was history.
It's really interesting in that tribute video they did for you in your last year. I think when you knew you were going to reach the milestone, which we'll talk about a little bit later. There's a moment in an interview that was done where you mentioned everybody wants to play in the NHL and make that jump, but the only thing you really wanted to do growing up was be a Vernon Viper. I mean, how significant is a franchise and an organization like that to a young player where, I mean, maybe we're looking at it 10 years from now where minor hockey kids want to be Vipers in 10 years and what sort of impact the organization had on a young man growing up?
Yeah. I mean, that's all I ever known was the Vernon Vipers. I remember every weekend, my dad owned a motorcycle shop in Lumbee. He would work, I think, till 4 or 5. And Vipers games on Friday would start at 7. So every day, Friday, I would be fired up after school, walk to Dad's work, just wait, push bikes, wait for him. And every Friday, we'd go to Vipers game and get into Vernon. And I was the kid, unfortunately, eating those snow cones and screaming through the ice to players, just wired on sugar. So it's a full circle. And now I'm on ice and little kids are screaming at me and I'm banging on the glass. So, I mean, it's so cool. And being in Vernon, I guess Vernon was obviously the place for me, but yeah, coming into junior A and looking at so many teams and really learning about the league and not only to Vernon, obviously I got so lucky. Like I would say it's top 1, 2 in whole junior A. And for me to be my hometown, like, oh man, this is a dream come true, obviously. And it was like a cherry on top. So, again, it was everything I could have asked for. And there's so many memories and so many guys I've met through there that I'm going to create a lifelong friendship with forever. So
we're going to talk about those. I mean, I've got a list, some of these conversations we've talked to guys who played 1, 2, and in some cases 3 years with the organization. I mean, well, it's a long list. There's 5 years to go through. I've been fortunate. I was there for all 5. You sort of made the jump in my second year with the organization, and I mean that's coming off a national championship host. You got a great captain in Riley Gunther that year, but a new coach, as you mentioned, the coaching change. Mark Ferner comes in a couple of games into the regular season, and I mean, that season as a whole for you to get into 48 games in your rookie campaign, that's a pretty big number. What sort of things were told to you when you're a 16-year-old coming into your first year in the BC Hockey League in your hometown?
Yeah. So my year one was a year for the books for sure. Being told, I remember that interview with Williamson in that summer, and obviously I was 15, turning 16 in September that time, and straight up told me, like, we love, obviously, hometown kid, we'd love to have you, but kind of realize your role in and out of lineup, being that player. And obviously I was ready for that. I knew I wasn't going to jump in and, power play, penalty kill, and what I did in midget, but just to be on there and learn from Gunsey and TJ and Dano and Koss and Aldi and all the stars we had, was a dream again for me. But to be on that team and just be around them every day and how they handled themselves was crazy to see, and what the time and work put into the day-to-day things to be a real player was. But that year one, yeah, we had, man, with 48 games, again, I don't think I was healthy one year. I know I got hurt. I obviously turnover last game before Christmas, Powell River broken foot. I totally remember that one. But yeah, year one was, out of my 5 years, I try to break it down and rank them, and I would say that was 1, 2. That was either 1 or 2. It's hard with the last year, man. That was a fun year. But that year one, just being 16 and being a sponge around all these older guys, man, I was a little baby. I was literally in the corner. I remember in the stall. I don't know how, but I was stuck with the audio and the music, playing that. But yeah, eating candy bags and Timmy's for pregame, and doing that as 16-year-old, you get away. But doing that, if I did that as 20, man, I would play 5 games. My body would be broken down. So just all the little things I could get away with being 16, and just, it was surreal. It was like, I remember Gunsey, it was a little later in that year, and he was 20, obviously, being a dub player, and I was overhearing him, and he's saying how, wow, it really goes by fast, blink of eye, and this was his junior career over, and this was my first year, and this was closer to the end, and I'm like, oh my God, like, this has been the longest year, like, this has been awesome. And then 5 years, I'm like, what just happened? Like, woof. And I really think Gunsey's combo every time, like, you just don't take it for granted every day. Live to the fullest and soak up everything, learn everything, and really enjoy it, embrace it. So that first year, man, that was good. And the relationships, again, like Dan, our goalie, I hang with him all the time here. He's 5 years older than me, and it's just one of those friendships that we just teed it off. And maybe him being another local kid, kind of taking care of another local kid. I was 14, 15. Might have to do some, but yeah, we just that team we had was a blast. That was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of things, and kind of first year in the league, to do with that group. And Ferns, again, you touched on him, yeah, not knowing at the beginning, kind of, I think Crosser was with us in preseason. He was coaching us, and then we found out Ferns was coming, and I didn't know anything. I don't know if we've ever met, but man, being 16 and looking at him and so rough and exterior, like, oh my, this is intimidating. And I just did whatever he told, like, just asked. 16, just, 3-on-1, whatever, dump if you don't not turn pucks over the blue line, red light, get the puck deep, and just do everything you were told to do, and earn his trust. And yeah.
Well, you clearly did it. I mean, looking at the playoff numbers, I mean, you guys ended up knocking off Merritt in the first round in 4 games, and then lost a heartbreaker in Game 7 in Penticton. But I mean, you got to do 11 games in the playoffs as a 16-year-old, and you had 3 assists. I mean, that's a pretty spectacular thing when you look back on it. I mean, you're in your first year, you've gone through, in your case, 48 games. You're ready for the postseason. This is what everybody plays for. Obviously, hindsight being what it is, how special and how impactful playoff hockey can be. But for your first kick at the can, I mean, that's a pretty good experience for you. What was that like? Did you learn anything that in that first year of playoffs about, what sort of things to expect as the rest of your career continued?
Yeah, that first year, again, we saw Merritt, and you don't know what's going to happen. I remember that year we were legit. We had first line, I remember TJ, Aldi, and Koss. Like, I don't think you could beat that. They were just so dominant in every aspect. Aldi could fly. TJ was kind of do it all, and Koss was just that big power body. And I believe we traded for Finn 8 games into that year, and that's who I ended up playing with, like little wizard out there with the puck, and Bolts, which, again, another unbelievable player. And I think we just had such a good team, and Merritt in the playoffs. Man, it's a different, like, I just remember them talking in that week preparation before and doing so much more than regular season. Everyone gets a player, you dissect, every little thing what player likes to do, and just everything goes into it. And it is like, you just get so fired up for the postseason. It's what you play for. It's what you grind all regular season for. And to get into the playoffs my first year is it was an eye opener to really realize how hard it was, and a battle. Oh my, night in, night out. And that Merit, I know we swept them, but it was a lot closer series than it was. And then that Penn series, my God, that's kind of where I realized, like, these two teams do not like each other, and kind of learned that. And those were the best games, man. You can't beat the Vernon Penn series. That's what you live for. And that game 7, yeah, I still remember it. Me and Bubs talk about it all the time. Patrick Sexton, the minute left, and off Bubs' butt, up in the goalie, and Danny drops in a butterfly, and unfortunately bottom corner. But yeah, a lot of learn from your mistakes, and that was such a fun series. Just two great teams going head to head. Well coached, just everything. That first year, and that series against Penn is definitely a standout. But again, just realizing how important each night, each shift, just the mistakes, and every team's got to be at their best. And postseason is definitely the best hockey for sure.
The year after that was a little bit strange. Wins and losses weren't where you want them to be. I mean, I think there was sort of and this is just looking from the outside, the turnover from the previous year was huge. Team didn't see a whole lot of success. You get into the playoffs on the last day of the regular season with a big win against a team that needed to beat you to get in as well. I think if I remember correctly, there were 3 teams on the last day that could get in, and you guys held your fate in your own hand. What was it like during that year? I mean, you go from the success that you guys had in the regular season the year before, plus the fact that you went right down to the wire with Penticton in the playoffs. Now all of a sudden there's a bit of a struggle. Winning's not so easy. There's a ton of adversity, but you got some younger guys. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Lambert, Steven Jandrick, Brett Stapley. These were the guys that started to make their appearance. You had a young group, a young core, but the wins just weren't there. I mean, what were some of the challenges you guys had to go through?
Yeah, obviously coming off at such a high on the year before, man, we were so good. Coming in, obviously not that you expected us to be that good again, but bringing in a lot of new players. I think Colt was their captain that year, if I remember correctly. Man, it's been 5 years. A lot of this is a blur, but yeah, it was a lot of ups and downs for sure, man. There's a lot. I wouldn't say that was a fun year, but you learned a lot. And I guess you got to go through those learning curves and going up and down, and a lot of long meetings, a lot of video and learning all uncomfortable truths, as friends would say. But yeah, it's just one of those years where you got to learn from and grow, and kind of not let that happen again. I remember one game I think it was our second year. We were down to Salmon Arm 5-1, and then the first, and we ended up coming back 11-7, or just something wild. It was like, just that kind of summed our year, and it was crazy. It was a lot of ups and downs. We had a lot. I think, was this the year that we had Odin Tufto come?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So we had Tufts, hell of a player, obviously, him and Finns. And just, yeah, we had a lot of skill. I think just kind of more, we went on an individual and kind of separated, which obviously isn't going to work as a team game. But just once, yeah, those guys that on that year that were coming back, just kind of learn and not forget about it. But a lot of good guys, a lot of memories still, but it wasn't the winning year that we were used to the year before, for sure. All for those guys returning, but a lot of lessons learned for sure to stay on that year too for me.
That was a big year. I mean, you've played in front of some pretty good goaltenders, and we'll talk about a couple more as it goes on. But that was the year Andrew Shortridge was there, and recently he's signed a professional contract. I think he's in the AHL, ECHL, and San Jose program. I mean, for a team that was going through the ups and downs that you were, I mean, you couldn't have leaned on a more important figure on your team than Andrew Shortridge. I mean, what was he like? He always seemed like a soft-spoken guy off the ice, but pretty intense character on it.
Yeah, Shorty, man, he was a stud. Ever since training camp, I remember watching one of the games, and he had these burgundy pads on. I think he came from the Null, I believe. And I always had a perfect angle on the wide open cage. I think was one of our players in the slot, and Shorty slid from the crease in like a windmill glove save, and like all of us returning players were like, looked at each other like, oh my God, we got a goalie this year. And yeah, he was good. My God, I think relied on a little too much, but man, he had our backs a lot of times. I think every year I was pretty blessed to have a stud as someone back there to rely on. Obviously Danny and Shammy tandem, Shorty and Hanny and Ty. Like the list goes on for me. We were blessed for goaltenders, and it gives you so much confidence to, maybe make a mistake and he's going to shut the door for you. And give credit to our coaching staff to bringing in those guys, obviously. But Shorty, yeah, off the ice, you would never guess, kind of like so humble and really soft spoken, but man, put the pads on, he's a different animal. He's you do not want to give him a little whack, because he will come at you, and he's super intense and just wants to get better every day, and that's what you want to see out of the goalie for sure. He was a backbone in year 2 like that, when we were losing, and not, we could have obviously played better for him, and he was still working his butt off and doing everything he possibly could. So yeah, he's obviously a great guy, and look at his success now. He's just cruising. So, and well deserved, man. He was one of the best goalies I've ever played with, for sure, and such a great dude, for sure, too.
You guys went out in 5 games in the first round, so you make it on the last day of the regular season with big win in Trail. I actually remember that one win where Trail scored in the first minute of the hockey game in a must-win, and then all of a sudden the tables turned and you guys end up running away with it. But you go in 5 games to Penticton. Obviously, they had a powerhouse team. Not the way you wanted. First time that I can remember, and it's technically the only time in my history that the franchise went out in the first round of the playoffs. Coming into your next season, Riley Brandt gets named the captain. You want to sort of put that season behind you. What were some of the keys with the returning players? Because, again, they go back to it, Jimmy, Steven, Brett, these were all key pieces that were coming with you into that next year. And boy, oh boy, did you guys bounce back in a big way.
That's right, yes. That year, too, obviously, we learned so much. And that year 3, I think we had a solid group of guys. That year 2, we had, again, you named Stapes, that core group of rookies that we had that were coming back, and kind of went through that and experience. And it wasn't the most fun we had during that year. So year 3 was kind of a, let's get this back on track and back to the Vipers way of playing, and having Bubs as a captain and leading us. And, we were a lot better for sure. And that was a fun year too. That's when we had Ozzy and Cluey and Coop. We traded for Coop. That was good. Yeah, that was, learned a lot from that second year. And year 3 with Stapes and Jim and Jans, man, they took over and they came so dominant, that line. That was a very good line. And I think this was my first year as leadership. I believe I had an A. So just another role for me personally, kind of learning and growing from Guntz and all the leaders I had earlier in my career, and learning and doing that. And I think the one big thing in that year 3 that stands out for me that night that I didn't know at the time, but I look back on, was that trade for Jess we got from Mitch Oliver. And Mitch was at the time one of my best friends, and that was a tough trade to be a part of. Man, yeah, that was tough. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I saw Jess. I played against Jess a long time ago in minor hockey too, and he was in Chilliwack at the time. And I remember Ferns bringing us in. I think it was me, Bubs, our leadership group, and showed us a clip of Jess hitting some guy in West Kelowna. And it was just kind of a one friend. We're like, we need him. Like, we got to bring him in. So at the time, I didn't think, obviously, me and Jess in the last couple of years we had together. But that time, I think looking back at it, it was just kind of one I highlighted. Just one of those little trades that I didn't think anything of it, but turned out to be, personally for me, a massive move. I think this was the year that we needed 7 games at the end of the year to win, right? And we only needed to win 1, and we won it against Trail.
Oh, that was the year before.
Sorry.
That was the struggle year. This one, you guys kind of cruised through most of it. That was the year that you started with 2 17-year-old goaltenders with Ty and Cole, and then you were able to acquire Hansen sort of in between that time, and all of a sudden, the whole ship. You guys were about a 500 team right up until Christmas, and then as has been the case, found another gear. But what's interesting about that was I was looking at some of Jesse's numbers at the time, and talking with him the year later, he had mentioned that the trade was very difficult because he's a local guy at that time, didn't put up a whole lot of points. But I remember the playoff run because all of a sudden he caught fire, and the whole team seemed to go, and that was a really, really special. I mean, I've got you guys beating Trail in 5 in the postseason. You ended up finishing that year with 49 games played and 37 points, which is, about your average, give or take. But, I mean, that was a pretty special team. And then, again, gosh, the series with Penticton in the 7 games. But let's talk about the goaltending. I mean, Ty comes in as a 17-year-old starter. You don't typically see that very often. Last time I can remember is probably Logan Terness this past season with Trail being 17 and taking over the starting job. But what was that like, watching a young goaltender try to grow and develop when you've got the talent level that you guys have? But he put on a show a lot of times.
Yeah, man, Ty. I was with him for a couple of years, and in that first year, being so young, 17-year-old, and as a starter or fighting for that starter position with Cole as the other goalie. It was so cool to see Ty come to work every day. As a 17-year-old, you would never guess his age. He comes to work and in practice, he is, again, like Shorty, just so intense and wants to get better and makes it so hard. And if you stand in his crease, he's going to give you a blocker or something you might not like, but it's more game realistic. And he, again, watching him grow and come into the goalie he is. And the year after, I think he did something stupid like 7 shutouts or
tied the record.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So the whole league kind of knew who he was and making a name for himself. But that year, watching him just come to the rink every day as a 17-year-old and take that responsibility upon himself to kind of be the man, obviously. And it was really cool. I'm proud of him to doing that. And type of kid he is. Obviously, the younger brother Trey is another phenomenal hockey player and carries a lot of characteristics. So, Ty is a warrior and he's a hell of a goalie. I think he's at UNH now, 3rd year, I believe. So
he's going into it.
That's right. Yeah. So you'll see his name down the road, I'm sure. He'll be down somewhere.
You guys got a Darian Hansen on essentially the start of a weird mainland road trip. Starting Wenatchee, then you've got Coquitlam and Langley back-to-back after that on a 3-3. Ty gets the hook because he played a lot of hockey. Wenatchee back then was a pretty stacked team, and I don't think I'll forget this. I'm sure you wouldn't as well. Darian shuts the door in the 3rd period. You guys end up dropping a tough one. Shuts out Coquitlam the next night, comes within a sneeze of shutting out Langley the afternoon after the end of the road trip, and then goes on to win goaltender of the year from, I believe it's November through February. So essentially 3 to 4 months he comes in and wins goaltender of the year. I mean, I know fans will remember him. We're going to try to get him on the show, but I mean, from a player perspective, pretty important addition.
Man, yeah, that was obviously the biggest addition. I remember at that time we got him that year 3. That's when I broke my back against Victoria. So the time we got him, I was out the time we got Hanny. And he came in, so I was at home. And I remember that road trip specifically, the Wenatchee, Ty kind of got pulled and he went in, shut the door against, again, the top team in the league and the Coquitlam. And I remember being at home watching Hanny. And I'm just so excited for them to come home so I can actually watch this goalie. And we obviously had such a good team and it was such a confidence booster. I know we had Ty and he did as much as he could at the beginning of the year. And for Ty to learn off a guy like Hanny, like that's, come on, like you're not going to get much better than that. And he ran with it, man. He was a stud. Just gave us that extra confidence and that trade at the deadline there, just kind of what we needed to be that, give us another level to our game. And he kind of reminds me of Shorty. It was not one of their aspects of their game kind of lacked. They brought that intensity and they just wanted to get better and the size and they were good, man. They were, those 2 goalies and Ty stand out for sure to me.
You guys knock off Trail in the first round, as we mentioned, in 5 games, and not like it was a big surprise. You knew that you're going to have to try get through the V's, and that was a heck of a series. You guys opened game 1 with a win in their building. They ended up winning game 2, and if I'm not mistaken, 4. You guys won game 3, so it was even going back to Penn. Overtime win for the V's in game 5. Which is tough. You guys had a must-win back home in Vernon. And I think at that point, for me, that was the largest crowd I'd seen. It was a sneeze under a sellout for a game 6 against the V's. Cooper Watson scores a big goal. You scored a big goal in that one, too, getting to a puck first. I mean,
I can remember that now, yeah.
You can't beat, moments like that. I mean, if the radio guy can hold on to them, I imagine the moments as a player who are down at ice level and sort of embracing it. I mean, that series was a heck of a one. We haven't even talked about the game 7, but I mean, talk about sort of being in must-win situation at home with pretty much a sellout crowd at Cal Tire Place, and you guys responded.
Yes, that was again another series. Any series with Penn stands out, but with the team we had there, and just again going toe to toe, to come home and know obviously backs against the wall in a must-win situation, and I remember Ferns giving the pregame and the speech, and obviously rumor has it that it's packed and it's completely sold out. So I remember coming out, and that was the first game where I realized when like you were on the ice and it like you could see like there's everyone looking at you, like there's this thing is packed. And I remember when Coop, and I think I did score that goal or that game. I remember that, but I specifically remember Coop's coming down the wall and just throwing a garbage goal and watching him go bananas. Man, that was a year again. And yeah, any series with Penn, man, it was those two teams that just really don't like each other. And but off the ice, they respect them. I mean, like just two of the top teams going at it. And yeah, those were the games that, man, if you couldn't get up for those, there was something wrong with you. Man, those are the fun games and you look forward to. Always the games against that team specifically that you would mark on the calendar, and to get them in the best of 7 was the thing you wanted. And that's one thing I really sucks for me, is the two things that I look back and is not beating Penn and not bringing a Royal Bank is the two things that I didn't do that stings. But I mean, the 5 years and that year specifically, and coming back again to home and then going to Penn for Game 7 and unfortunately not turning out the way. But yeah, that was again so many memories, and we still talk to Coop and Cluey and Hunter and Ozzy, and I mean the whole squad is still keep in touch. So that was a year.
It's pretty crazy to think about. You talked about the leaders that you had back in your rookie year with Riley Gunther and a handful of others. I mean, as an 18-year-old being on that team, you just listed off a whole bunch of them. Riley was captain. Connor Clouston was brought in from the Western League in his 20-year-old year. Cooper Watson showed up. Those guys played together, and, you know, knowing them sort of like that we do, obviously had a great relationship. But that was a veteran laden group that you had. I mean, as an 18-year-old, even though you're wearing an A, what was it like to be able to sort of get as much information from guys that had huge and very long junior careers as they were winding down?
Yes, that was, again, another important year for me, obviously having a letter and being one of those to lead the team and being more having a leadership role and learning from Bubs and all the great leaders I had before. And yeah, we had so much experience. Like Cluey, 200 plus dubs, and Ozzy, another, like, just guys that, you know, just go to work, and they've been grinding for years and years. And to bring that experience on our side, and I think that helped us through those tough times. Watching Ozzy as example, I think he was third or fourth line, and he's just working his tail off, chipping pucks, and I think closer to that playoffs, he was on fire, and he was 20, just meat and potatoes, and he'd just go to town and get the job done. And for us younger kids, I know I'm 18 and a little older, but I can still learn from that and watch that and learn and grow from those players. So that was super, again, like year 2. Not as much losing, but again, a lot of year learning and taking a lot of things from the older guys and putting in my game and seeing what I can do to make myself a better player and leader too. You
obviously learned a lot from those guys. You're really good friends with Riley Brandt, who was the outgoing captain. You get named captain, and it was a pretty slam dunk decision, I think, from anybody who was in and around the organization. I would imagine it was a slam dunk for everybody except yourself. I mean, I'm sure it's something you sort of thought about, but until you sort of get named captain, you just imagine what if or what could. You get the call, the tap on the shoulder. What does that mean to a player? We've talked to Connor about it, what it meant too, because obviously he's been from Vernon as well. What did it mean for you to be awarded the captaincy, have earned the captaincy, and what does that mean for a player who's in their hometown?
I mean, that was a complete honor. That was one of the biggest things that I thought that it stands out for sure, is getting announced that and just, again, knowing your role and how important you can be to the younger youth and the kids and around the community and being a leader on and off the ice, especially. That was, and I think thankfully I had a couple years of being a captain and assistant before, but not to this extent. I mean, you're in one of the best leagues, and I'm 19, so I do have guys older than me, but it's Jimmy and guys I've been with for a long time, and they respect me, and I think they know what I'm about, and I respect them. I think that was a great year, again, that year 4, and being announced was it stands out for sure. One thing especially I remember very early that year, I think it could have been training camp. I walked past Duncan in the hallway, and it was kind of, he stopped and said, like, Mark picked the right one, congrats. And it was like one of those where it just kind of hit me and like kind of got that, okay, like this is time to get rolling, and this is my job, and I'm not going to let this down and make everyone proud kind of thing. So that was the moment that stood out to me, was getting that kind of proof from Dunk, which was really cool. But that year was a blast. A lot of learning again, and having the captain on, but being around that group that we had, it made my job so easy to come to the rink. And wasn't babysitting. I mean, I'd take care of the young kids, but they were so mature and carry themselves. So it wasn't me being kind of a dink. It was just a great team. And I mean, it made my job so much easier. You could have named 5-6 other guys captain that team. It was just, I was the one to have it. So again, another year 4 was a great year.
On paper, I mean, the only other team that I think that could have been as dominant was probably the 14-15, your rookie season, in terms of what the lineup looked like on paper. From a talent level, you guys finished right there with Penn, 1-2, and in the division you were about, I think I had it about 8 points behind by the time that the season finished. But I mean, that was a very stacked, very talented hockey team. I mean, as you guys are going through, you guys had 9 combined shutouts between the 2 goaltenders, Taylor and Yamnitsky. So you guys were able to score. You guys were able to defend. And, I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but, heading into the end of the regular season and the postseason, I thought you guys were a lock for at least the national championship appearance. We know that's not going to be the case, but, I mean, what was sort of special? What seemed to work? Obviously, it's really easy to say, hey, talent can put the puck in the net, but now you got to figure out a way to defend it. Everybody who could score, you had your best season offensively with 53 points. You were in almost every game, -3 in the regular season. I mean, that season, the whole thing seemed to click. I want to ask you about that, but I want to pause it because you guys, it wasn't just rolling. There was quite a bit of adversity you guys had to face. And I'll ask you about it. I mean, after January, you play in the Celebrate the Civic game. I want to talk about that first. You score a goal in that game. It's the last game the Civic Arena ever held. Turns out to be the last game that Duncan would ever be the owner of. He'd pass away shortly after that. We'll mention that in a minute, but what was that Celebrate the Civic game like for you? I mean, it was special to call. I got to have some cool color commentators, former broadcasters. You scored a big goal. Tons of history. I mean, you guys wore some really awesome jerseys that night too. I mean, walk us through the event that was to Celebrate the Civic.
Yeah, the Civic, again, one of the, I would say, top 5 my 5 year that stands out for sure. Just being a local kid, and when I came to Vernon, that was the rink, the Civic in the Priest Valley. And the Civic, my midget year was my, like, our dressing room was in this back of the Civic, and that's where we got dressed for our Vipers game, was in the same dressing room that I played my whole midget first year in. So just so many memories. It was so cool. I mean, you're playing hockey and there's sun coming through the building. Like, it's not normal, but just those little things that stand out. And being told, I think there's a rumor and whatever being finalized that we were actually having a game at the Civic. I mean, that was, I waited every single, I was counting down the minutes and hours till we played that game, and being able to score was just so cool. I remember I should have wiped out. I was so excited. I caught myself, or someone might have caught me in the celebration, but I was going down for sure. And the thing that sucks, and it's tough to tell, but on the video, I think we pulled our goalie with under a minute or something. I was on top of the crease, and I don't know who was behind the net, but the puck was on my stick. And it's just really one of those in tight where I don't know if many fans or people saw, but clearly the puck, it was on my stick, and all I had to do was get over the goalie's pad to tie the game. But I decided to shoot it right into his pad, and PG ended up winning it. But to score and to have so many family and friends, and like so many, I think majority of people I knew in Vernon tried to come out and get into that last game in the Civic, which stood out. So, I mean, coming out of off the ice, and I mean, my name is just getting screamed. It was a cool, special feeling, and obviously playing so many minor hockey games and a lot of playoff minor hockey games and goals and celebrations down at rink. It was special. It was really cool to be a part of that Civic game.
And it's something that not every player's been through. The way the logistics had to work to get people into the building, it was full for warm up. Have you ever had a that big of a crowd while you guys take warm up? I mean, the ovation was probably as large as it would have been had you scored.
I mean, I know you nailed it there. I mean, we're trying to warm up like off ice. This is, I don't know, I think 7:00. Like this is a couple hours before, and we're trying to play sewer ball, and we already have fans. I mean, we couldn't even play sewer ball in the rink because it was, and this is like hours. I don't even know the doors were open, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, we can't even warm up to. There's too many people here. It was special, and I know we started me, Mares, and I think Chert or Hora. No, who else was on? I can't remember. That was not Hora. Way year. We started Bilodeau. Started 3 Vernon boys. I remember that was a special feeling too. I remember Ferns coming up to me and having that idea. That's 3 start, and I thought that was so cool and so special for us 3. Obviously, they have so many memories. Billy being from Vernon and Mares starting his Vernon minor, his hockey in Vernon too, and then going to Kelowna. But just to be with those guys again, that was so cool. I mean, that game was. It sucks that we lost, but to have all those friends and family and to score, it was like a cherry on top for sure.
The whole season it didn't end up flipping all the way over, at least in terms of on the ice product, but off the ice, you guys were dealt something, a hand that I can fairly say that nobody or not very many people have ever gone through. The Thursday following the Saturday Celebrate the Civic, Duncan Ray passes away, obviously a longtime owner of the franchise. Nobody saw it coming. It caught everybody off guard. I mean, you don't have to dive too much into it if you don't want to, but you hear about it on Thursday. You guys are expected to play in Merritt on the Friday. I'll never forget that. But, I mean, as a leader of the team and a local guy and a guy who's clearly been impacted by that man, what the heck? What do you do? There's no manual. So, who did you guys lean on, and how much did, as much as it's probably pains to talk about, how much did it bring the group together going through that?
That was so hard. I mean, we lost our leader, our alpha male, and such a good guy. Sorry, I might get a little emotional, but it brought us together for sure. Kind of, coming realizing that and what he did for the Vernon Vipers and that year it brought us together for sure. And Ferns and kind of like not screw everyone else, but like this is it, boys. Like this is our group. We're gonna come together and do it for Dunk. Kind of. Yeah, that was special. Again, with their playoff slogans, all the way in, that was that year. And again, a legend. Sorry about this, but man, yeah, we'll miss him for sure.
You guys go to Merritt. There was no chance you guys had any business winning that hockey game. But the return trip against Cowichan, I mean, there were some significant things at play. You guys run into a great goaltender. It turns out to be a 2-0 win for you guys. Their goalie stops a huge number. And I can't remember the timing of it, but Mark had mentioned to me that the 1-0 goal that was scored, I think Prokop got it, was at a certain time that was very relevant to Duncan. Do you remember anything about that game? That was obviously an emotional turnout on the Saturday against Cowichan, and you guys played a heck of a hockey game. Does anything sort of stand out about the return home? The one on the Friday, obviously extremely difficult for everybody. That's 24 hours after you guys learn about it. But the return home on Saturday was pretty emotional for everybody involved.
Yes, for sure that stands out. I mean, it was just kind of one of those things we're going to get back home, kind of back to our territory and celebrate Dunk and go out there and just play. This is what he would want us to do, is go out there and just empty our tanks and do everything we possibly can. I mean, go out and play our way. And I mean, he knows that. And I think we all knew that, what he would like from us and to go out and just grind and came out. I mean, that win felt so good. And again, when Pro scored, I knew something weird matched up, and it was just one of those things where he was watching us for sure. And I mean, that was a very meaningful game, and it hit the spot, hit the heart for sure.
You guys end up rolling right through. You finish ahead of Salmon Army, get the Silverbacks in the first round. This is the first time in a long time you guys have had a rivalry like that. Turned out it would be the first of a couple in a row, and obviously an exciting time. You guys come out with 4 straight and move on, but it was a pretty tight series, all things considered. But you really seemed to to find your mojo. Winning 4 straight, they say it's one of the hardest things to do, but you guys were able to pull it off in their building. What do you remember about the rivalry with Silverbacks in the first round?
Yeah, Salmon Arm. That was a fun series. I mean, I just felt like we had so much confidence, and we just knew. I mean, we just believed in everything. I mean, we had the mixture that year. We got Sandy, right? Jordan Sandu. We got Moki. I think we traded for Lada and Brown later. I mean, we just Ferns again. To give credit to our coaching staff, we just brought in all the right pieces, and just we were so deep that year. Again, Jim, Stapes, and Sandy first line, and then me, Jess. That's when we were starting to really find our games, and me and Jess kind of starting to really hit it off and kind of being that connection that we had our last year. We were so deep in that series. Yeah, obviously it was 4-0, but I think it was a lot closer. I know the last game, I think it was OT. I think I hit the post and then Nico grabbed it and shoved the 5-hole or something. But that was a lot closer. I think we were down maybe 1 or 2 in Vernon, and Jess scored a big goal and came back. But it was just one of those things that I knew we were down, but the boys believed. I mean, just keep sticking to it, and it's gonna come. Like we felt very high of our game, and I think we just had that mixture of everyone, those pieces that we just gelled and kind of just teed it off right from the start. And Ty, obviously 7 being that backstop man. But again, running into that Wenatchee team with Vanderbeck and Weatherby, man, that was a challenge. But that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And I thought, I honestly thought we could have done it. Obviously, a lot of things changed, and I got suspect, and Stapes went down, and a lot of things happened. But again, that was such a fun year, and a lot of things, obviously, with Duncan. Just one of the years was just filled with everything, every event, and the boys just stuck together. I think that's why it became so close, and it was just so much fun because we just had to kind of battle through trenches and stick together and really, persevere and come out on top. So that was a good year. And damn, we were good.
That Wenatchee series, it's one that stands out for me just as somebody who watched it. I mean, you guys go up in the series 2-0 after a couple of really good wins at home. You go down there, you lose a couple in a row. As you said, you get suspended for, 2 games?
Yeah.
So you're out. You guys lost.
Yeah.
You guys lost Stapley. Judson was out of the lineup. Kelly was out of the lineup. Just to name a couple. You come home for game 5. I'll never forget this because you're standing to my left when this game's going on. You guys are trailing by a goal. And Zek ices the puck with 3 seconds left. And that's the biggest goal I've ever.
Off a puck on his stick.
It was crazy. 0.3 seconds. He scores to tie it and throw everybody into a frenzy. I mean, the result at the end of game 5 wasn't what you wanted. But my goodness, did it ever feel, again, going back to what happened in January, did it ever feel like there was almost a higher power there trying to get you guys through to overtime and try to get you back to Wenatchee up 3-2?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It felt like there was something. Obviously, we went through so much stuff that year. I mean, we weren't going to give up in 0.3. Whoever thought that we would win a face. Jimmy, I think, took the face off. He's not a centerman. I mean, snaps it back, and I think Park, I don't know if he tried it was a muffin and it just went squeak 5-hole, and I believe fans were leaving the building and you name it. I think I almost fell out of the booth up top, jumped over. I was so excited, but just double, obviously not the way, I think it was double OT, one of those missed the net, and one of those, I think Sasaki, Chad, ended on his stick and buried. But yeah, that series stands out for, I think it was up there with that Penn game 7, both game 7s. It stands out there. Just, again, 2 teams just going toe-to-toe with Weatherby. It was so much fun. The guy is such a dominant player, and trying to shut him down. Obviously, he just did remarkable things in regular season. And Vanderbeck, and man, they were good. They had a team too. But yeah, that getting suspended, I mean, that kind of took the wind out of my sail. I remember waking up. It happened in game 2, and waking up, game 2. We were in Wenatchee and waking up in a hotel, and Ferns calling me and telling me I might get suspended. And I wasn't doing nothing, didn't do any mistakes, didn't, slash or do anything stupid the game before. Like, what would I have possibly done? And he pulled me aside, and the 2 rules, or if you have 2 goaltender interferences, it's automatic, or 3, on regular season. And then I didn't know it was a rule. I don't think Ferns did either, which I guess it could have been our fault. But again, that was tough to sit out and watch the boys, and such a important, and a year that I thought, it was our year to go the way, and obviously that team, that was tough to watch out and watch the boys, and then to get to score that game, and then to lose in double OT, and to go back to Wenatchee. And I mean, that was tough to sit out, but the boys did everything possible. We lost Stapes, and we lost a lot of big players, but that series sticks out for sure. That was a lot of fun.
During those times, you'd committed to Michigan Tech. Obviously, every time there was an off season, is Jagger coming back? Is he not coming back? Is he going? What's scenario? I mean, Viper fans obviously extremely excited that you were able to make it back for your 20-year-old season. Obviously disappointed that you didn't get the opportunity to go to Michigan Tech. What can you tell us, if anything, about the process for you? You committed pretty early in your junior career, and what are you able to tell us without I guess whatever you're comfortable sharing about the NCAA process and sort of what allowed you to come back for your 20-year-old year?
Yeah, so I mean, this is such a long story. I mean, I'll give you a little glimpse of it, but the schooling part for me, I mean, I didn't know. I committed when I was 15, my first year, after I broke my foot. That's right. I went on a fly down with my mom and dad, and I was talking to a couple other schools, but I thought, I mean, it could have been a little early, but I thought this was the right school for me. The coaches were fully invested and wanted everything, and wanted me to come and saw me as a big piece of their future. So, I mean, we played my couple years, obviously played a couple years, and I think it had me going after my 18, maybe 19 for sure. But it kind of, I mean, I not necessarily fell apart. Communication wasn't the best between me and Tech. And then my third year in Vernon, coming into my fourth, that's right, they lost their coaches. Tech lost the head coach and assistant coach. That the assistant coach really kind of scouted me and brought me in. They left to Michigan, so it was kind of one of the things where I kind of thought to myself, I don't know, kind of talking to family if I switch or because I was doing very well, and I thought I could, maybe that was what I was looking into anyways, and just the communication, and it kind of wasn't the best. And so anyways, the 18-year-old year, I had to do school full. I took a full course load, right? So I didn't know, but I started my college, so I'm already a year in. I lose a year after I took 8 courses that year. I was the only one, which is super hard. I mean, a lot off the ice. I mean, you go to the rink and then go home and do homework, and everyone else is hanging out, and you're the captain and you want to be a part, but at the same time, you got to dial it in and do the school. So that was a super hard part for me, is off ice and just kind of grinding and trying to stay eligible to go to school. But honestly, bottom line, it didn't work out. I came down to I tried switching my end of the 20-year-old year. I tried to go to Huntsville, and it came down to you needed a 2. They changed the NC Clearinghouse, changed it to like a 2.5 as a transfer student, and I had a 2.3, and it was a 2.3 before. So it was just one of those things where it just fell through. And I talked to so many people, and it was one of those where it says, like, dude, like, you got not screwed, but like someone should have stepped on this and figured it out before it got too ugly and before it's too late. So this came to, I couldn't really do anything. But coming back again, sorry, a little off track, but that 19 and realizing I had such a good year with Jess, that 19-year-old year, and I wanted to go to school 100%. I thought I was ready. I could go, and I had 4 years. I thought was enough. But finding out, I mean, little things started happening, and it kind of started to feel like I was coming back. And then Jess FaceTimed me one day, and it kind of like I kind of said to myself, like, what's the rush for me? I mean, I thought we could do big things our last year in Jess, and we just had such a good group, and talked to Ferns, and we had a great talk, and he said, like, no rush, but like just everything, and obviously came back. And I mean, that was year 5, I think, was number 1 for me, but just a lot of details and a lot of information behind the scenes for me in the NCAA. And I mean, I wish I could emphasize and tell all the young kids, like, the grades obviously matter, and to stay on top of that, and to not let it get too loose. I mean, I should have tackled that or asked for help before it got too ugly, where I was kind of left by myself. So, I mean, but I guess everything happens for a reason. That year 5, man, that was fun. So it worked out, and it's all good now.
Well, I mean, that final year, I mean, the Vipers get you back, they get Jesse back. Well, they don't get you guys for very long. That year was pretty crazy. You end up suiting up for 31 games. You have 28 points. You miss time early, and then you break your thumb in Prince George, and Jesse's out with a suspension. You know, we talked with Connor Merritt about this. I mean, I'll still remember and I'll never forget it, the game in Trail where you guys had 9 regulars out of the lineup. Were able to win in overtime and then won the next night in Wenatchee. And I don't know if you were on that trip.
I wasn't. No, I was home.
And there were significant pieces out of the line. First of all, 9 regulars out of 23 that are out of your lineup. That's a big piece. But, I mean, how did that help prepare you guys for what we'll talk about a little bit later and that monster run you guys went on? I mean, you were a last-place team heading into Christmas, and there were a lot of it was because of injuries. I've never seen a team as banged up as you guys were for as long as you guys were. I mean, what was that like as a player and a captain when you were in the lineup and when you sort of had to be a cheerleader?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that year I obviously watched a lot more games than I wish I did, but that was a tough start for sure. Obviously not knowing what I was doing coming back. And I think, you know, very training camp a week before, like very close. This is just such brutal timing for me, but I want to say like 3 or 4 days before training camp started, I went to the doctor and I had shingles. I was diagnosed with shingles. So, I mean, just what a start to kick it off. I remember going to the rink and Fern's just laughing, not laughing, but like, just like, what else is going to go wrong with you, Jags? But, you know, got through that, a bunch of medication and one of those, that's where it started. But again, a lot of ups and downs. It was crazy. And Jess being suspect and kind of everyone knows who he is now, year 5, and he's just such a dominant force in every aspect of the game. His physicality is obviously another level. And so him getting suspect and going up and down and me tearing my thumb or being out for a little bit with shingles and for me personally, not being the player that I wish I like being ready and in shape and being the player year 5 that I know I can be in this league. And I felt bad for my teammates and not being there, but off ice and just being around them and trying to keep the positivity and as much and so many young guys that I could rub off on and just kind of, you know, teach them anything that I possibly can if they need help and make them feel comfortable. So, yeah, that was tough start for me, shingles, and then PG again, going head first into the boards, into the rock solid boards and thumb snapping. And then I think, yeah, finishing that game and then getting home and, yeah, that's getting surgery on this bad boy. But again, I think what helped us was losing me and Jess and a lot of other big names. It was like that was like our trade deadline. I mean, we had all those young guys that maybe wouldn't get that opportunity to step in those positions with us being out, and they rose to the occasion and got the job done. And I think that gave them confidence that, like, hey, like, look, our older leaders are out, and you know, this isn't too big of a job for me to handle. And Mares and like all those guys just grinded and kind of, you know, brought their game up to another level. And once we got healthy, I mean, that was an exciting time. I know we were out and watching and cheering, and me and Jess were too busy watching games. But I mean, I felt like once we came back, it was just like that boost to our team. Like, I know it's our leaders, but we got our leaders back, and you know, we were gonna get back in the saddle and we were gonna lead. And the stuff that the conversations me and Jess had, and watching the hockey, you see so many different things, and you can kind of emphasize to the younger D and like just little things that you see that might help their game. And I think that was important, but again, a lot of time missing for me, which sucked, but again, it works out, happens for a reason. And again, yeah, a lot of ups and downs, but that year 5, man, that was a fun year. New ownership, a lot of new stuff going on, but man, we had a good team, just kind of bonded together and just did it for ourselves, did it for our team and our coaches and our boys.
I guess it's not always something that you want to go through on a regular basis, but the win-loss, win-loss, win-win, loss-loss sort of thing that you go through the first half of the season probably prepares you for what it's going to be like in the playoffs, because teams don't go on, you know, very often, except the Prince George team that you end up playing. But most playoff teams don't go through 3 and 4 game winning streaks very often. Maybe you get that in the first round, but typically it's kind of you got to rebound after a loss. You have to rebound and prepare after a win. You guys only lose 6 times, I believe, from January 1 to the time the postseason started. You guys jump ahead of Salmon Arms, so you're in 4th place. You get home ice advantage, and it seemed like after 58 games, your team was the prototypical team that you would want to have going into a playoff series. Fair to say?
Yes, I would totally agree. I mean, I wasn't a team that would watch out during regular season, but I mean, all fairness, that regular season ain't that much important, and the real fun, real season is the playoffs. And I think that's when we came to our peak, and that's when we were at our top and cruising, and everyone was on board and bought in and healthy, which was huge for us that year, obviously. And just the culture that we built in Vernon and starts with obviously with our coaches, Crosser, Cape and Ferns, man, they just dialed us in, and we really, having that experience, I thought my 5th year, kind of knowing the league and Jess, and we had that Lats was in Samurai, like we had Mares, like we just had a very, very solid group that knew too much, and I knew if something bad happened, we were going to reply in the right way. And I mean, Ferns would always say luck favors the backbone, not the wishbone, and that's what we rode behind. And yeah, we were ups and downs, but we always, came out on top for the most part.
Well, the series against Salmon Arm was a fun one. 2nd straight year, you get them. Not an easy series whatsoever. You guys lose game 1 at home, and then you're down in game 2, and Latta ends up scoring an overtime winner. So it took you guys a while to beat Langenegger, who was disgustingly good in that series. You go back to Salmon Arm for game 3. Sanderson scores the overtime winner, and then you guys win game 4. So now you're going back home with a 3-1 lead, and then
Matt.
I know what's that?
Matt, this is Matt Kowalski. Okay, yeah, it's coming back to me. Yeah,
Matt Kowalski. So you go through game 5, tied after 3, tied after 4, tied after 5, and towards the late stages of the 6th period, Kowalski scores the triple overtime winner. That's the longest game I've ever been a part of. I'd imagine it was the same for you. Walk us through what a game 5 is like. First of all, the goaltending for both teams was outrageously good. But what's going through your mind is all of a sudden you play 2 games worth of hockey in one day. It seems to be a lot, not just physically but mentally.
Yeah, again, having them for the 2nd year, we knew it was going to be a challenge. And man, that game 5, I remember, big shout out to my mom, because if I didn't have fruit, I don't know if I would have been able to make it through every intermission, those last couple intermissions, the 5-6. That was, my skate or puddle, like just completely soaked. You could drain them just to sweat. Man, that was a battle. And obviously they always say that 4th one's the hardest one to win. And again, Matty coming up huge, Vernon boy, nice little backhand top. But damn, yeah, Langenegger was lights out that series, man. He played so well. Everything we threw at him, felt like he'd kick it out. And I remember, just a little story with him, I shot on him his first year. That was his 2nd year in the league, I believe.
No, that was his first one, first full.
Okay, yeah. That summer before, I shot on him with Lyle, a goalie coach, and being told that he was going to Salmon Arm. I'm like, oh no, we got our hands full. Here we go. And just kind of telling him, like, we'll see you next year, buddy. Kind of best of luck. And damn, yeah, he was a good goalie, man. He made it hard for us, and everything we threw at him, again, he just kicked it out, and it felt like it wasn't going to end. And if they won that, then they had momentum, and watch out, who knows what could happen. So to get that and just keep grinding and nose to the grindstone, and Matty scoring, that was a big momentum, and just to get that rest and seal him off in 4 and get ready for the next series, that was very important.
Well, it's essentially a 7-game series based on all the overtime, right? The overtime in game 2, overtime in game 3, the extra game you played in game 5. That's essentially a 7-game series wrapped in a 5. Probably a good thing, because it teed you guys up for the Trail Smoke Eaters. So that year, to sort of set the scene, the playoff format switched a little bit. All of a sudden, there's a wild card crossover team. So Cowichan comes over as the 8th seed. Top teams. Penn goes out in the first round. Merritt goes out in the first round. Wenatchee, Vernon, Trail, and Cowichan are all of a sudden into the next round. So as the 4th seed, maybe a little bit surprised to get home ice in the second round, going up against the 7th seeded but very talented Trail Smoke Eaters, and they promptly take the first 2 games in your building. In games 1 and 2, Ozar scores in overtime, early in overtime in game 2 to send it back to Trail, up 2-0 for them. Well, that's a bit of an eye-opener after jubilation in the first round. All of a sudden, things looking a little different heading back to Trail.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was like – I remember those first 2 games at home and us going down 0-2. But it was like, to be honest with you, maybe everyone thought but it wasn't that much panic in our room. Like, not at all, to be honest. Like, we're down 0-2. That's right. We didn't do what we were supposed to do, is win our games. And they had a good team. That's when Tamlini and Johnson was like, whew, watch out. But it really didn't feel like it was 0-2. We never really looked at it as like, we need to win these. Like, we need to win this game 3 in Trail. And I mean, we kind of just kept calm and just went about our business and came to work and got better and listened to our coach's message and went to Trail and just grinding. And they were a good team. And to play in that building now, Trail's coming up and they're packing the building and screaming. And for me personally, man, against Trail, obviously getting to know Bubs, and he's from Trail, and becoming best friends and knowing a lot of his friends and coming back and knowing his parents. And it was just one of those things where I can't let this happen. We can't lose to these guys. But going back in their building and 3 and 4, we won both and evened it up, I believe, correct?
You did. Yeah. And you scored a pretty impressive goal. I know Trey scored his first playoff goal. You guys were down 2-0 in game 3. He scored, and then I believe you scored the 2-2 goal where you shrugged off about 2 guys cutting through the middle. Your mom actually sent me a text or a tweet after I said, I think my line was, "Get on my back, boys. I'll carry you." After you scored. And I mean, the series, essentially, you guys would go off to win the next 3. So a big game 5 win. You go back to Trail, an opportunity to end the series. It doesn't go your way. So all of a sudden, after losing 2, you win 3. Try to close it out. Don't want to necessarily have to go to game 7, but as you'd expect, a good team wins at home.
Yeah, and that's, that was so much fun to come home and in front of our fans, and it's going to be sold out, and Trails, they're a good team, man. You can't take them lightly. They had every asset. They had speed, they had physicality, they had skill. I mean, they had a great coach that year, and they scored early. I believe they scored on the power play, I think 5 minutes in. I remember me and Jess were out there as Johnson did probably some stupid pass across the end, and they scored. But I think we went down 1-0 early again, and I think who scored? Someone scored, and then I remember I scored after that, I think, to make it 3-1, and then fans were just, I still look back on pictures. I think I was wearing a bubble because I broke my nose. That's right. Cashy, my own teammate, tried to line me up. Shout out to Cashy. But yeah, no, that was a blast, and we just kind of rose, kind of just got behind the fans, and that was a lot of fun. That game 7, I won't remember. Those fans were so loud, and to be able to score in that game, and that was good to get through those guys because they weren't going to be easy, and it was just only going to get tougher. But that series, man, that was a lot of fun. That was good.
And again, I might have been wrong on this, but I think I'm pretty close. It was the first game 7, and fans who are listening to this, feel free to tweet me or correct me if you have to. I think it was the first game 7 at home that the team and the franchise had since 2010 when they knocked off Powell River in game 7 for Fred Page. My numbers might be off on that. That was quite an experience to play a game 7 in front of your hometown, 3,500 people in the rink against a very good Trail team. I mean, as you said, this is a chance to go backwards when it comes to your career. But I mean, playing in front of 3,500 screaming hometown fans in a game 7, I mean, that's got to be bucket list worthy. Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, one of those games where you skate out for warm-ups, and the warm-ups, there's fans, they're packed, it's packed already, and you just feel the atmosphere is another level, and it's do or die. I mean, you're going golfing or you're moving on. So I mean, it was just so important. So much was on the line. And those are the games you live for. I mean, those are the ones you play when you're a kid. Game 7, next goal wins. So it was just you dream about it. You dream about it every single day, and now you really get to go out and play in game 7, and it just means so much. So to come out on top
in front of a packed barn was something to cross off. Cause I remember one of the games against Penn, we came back packed barn and we laid an egg and lost 6-0 or 6-1, and it was not a good feeling. So to come back and do well and get a win and in a game 7 in a packed barn, it was something to give our fans. It was special.
The next round, you guys get a chance at redemption from the year before. You get through Cowichan, having talked with Bliss Littler and their whole franchise. I mean, they were worn out after that Cowichan series that went 6 games. You get a chance at redemption. Before we even talk about the series, how excited were you to get an opportunity to play these guys again? Obviously, the year before left a sour taste with a Game 6 loss. They went on to the national championship, fell a sneeze short. I mean, you guys get a chance at redemption. I mean, that had to bring everybody up because there were quite a few guys who returned from the year before that were ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think they had a big chunk of guys returning too. So we had a sour taste in our mouth. I mean, once we got through trail, we had our eyes. We were excited. We wanted this team again to get redemption and to try to take them down again. And they were good, man. They were legit again, they're well coached, and they just had Weatherby and Vanderbeck, man. They were so powerful, and the littlest mistakes, I mean, costed us. I remember, I'm pretty sure I had a chance. I mean, I can't remember. It was late in one of the games in Wenatchee, and I wide open net. I had a breakaway first, missed, and then Maris gave me a pass to go up 3-1 late in the third, and it just kind of whiffed off my eyes. Just one of those things. But man, yeah, those are some battles, and that's why you play the game. I remember getting into it with Wenatchee fans. You're just so competitive, and to get another look at these guys and still, again, the year before, having that sour taste in their mouth and not wanting to lose to them again, and being like in their locker room and just hating that feeling because it's so live and it hurts. So, I mean, that was, yeah, again, a lot of crazy things. But that was, to get through them, man, I'm looking back on videos in that room and just makes me smile, man. It's just all the hard work and to finally get through them. I mean, it was not Penticton, but Wenatchee, they were good, and it was cool to get through them and get back home and see our fans. It was special.
You guys won Game 1, Michael Young overtime winner. You guys had a lead. They tied it. Younger early in overtime, point shot goes off of, I think it was Souder or Stratton.
Yeah.
And goes in. So you guys win. They narrowly win Game 2. You guys come home for Game 3 and blow the doors off. I think the score was 7-2 in Game 3. You absolutely explode. You guys with pretty comfortable win in Game 4. Chance to win it in Game 5 in their building as they were the higher seeded team. You guys were pretty much shut it down. Recently, I had done a video that recently went up because it was the 1-year anniversary of the day you guys won the division championship. And you guys won it in the second period. You guys were down 1-0. You scored 3 unanswered in the second period to win it. You scored one of those on a drop pass from Jesse Lansdale. The horn sounds. You're in their building. You're the division champs. You know you're going to the Fred Page. You're in your 20-year-old year. You slayed a team that had slayed you guys the year before. I mean, I imagine there were a lot of things moving. But what was that like? And spoiler alert, I do want to ask you about the return the day later. But what was it like in the dressing room with the guys, knowing that you guys, for the first time in your career, are heading to a Fred Page?
Yes, that's something I'll never forget. I mean, to finally get out of the interior division, and it is so hard, and mostly year in, year out, the strongest division, to finally get out and to come out and get through Penn and Wenatchee and Trail, and it's just such a grind, man. It felt good and an accomplishment, but knew we weren't done yet. But that experience and the feeling coming off that ice and celebrating with the older guys and like finally, man, we got through this, but a lot of work to do, but we got through the interior, which was a huge goal. Check that off. But yeah, that was special to celebrate in that room and in the hotel that night. And again, a little spoiler, but we got home and man, it was just why it is so much fun to play in Vernon. You come home after nothing. We won in the series, but like nothing big, and hundreds of fans ready to greet you and celebrate. So, I mean, that was pretty cool. Coming off a long bus ride to come home to a bunch of screaming and excited fans. It meant something, and it was good to give them something to cheer about. which was good.
Interesting side note, in 2013-14, when the Vipers knocked off the V's in the national championship hosting year, it was the last time they had won a division championship. Before that, in a blizzard, they had a pretty huge turnout of season ticket holders after defeating Penticton in overtime. But the numbers the day after this particular group won, astronomical. I mean, that was a pretty special turnout. Did you know they were coming? Did you have a feeling they were coming? Or was it you rolled in, you looked out the window and went, holy cow, look at all these people?
You know, I actually remember I didn't think of anything of it, like once we were in Wenatchee and got on the bus. But as we were getting closer, I kind of had a weird feeling. Because I remember when they won that blizzard, and I don't know, I think it was some season ticket holders or some fans that showed me videos of the players getting greeted. So as we got closer, and I felt, I don't know if I got a text or my mom or someone maybe spoiled a little bit, but I kind of had a feeling when my gramps or someone was in town that I knew something was going on. So to get off that bus, but everyone else had their no idea, right? They had no idea. I had a little feeling, right? But I mean, that was cool to celebrate with them and for everyone else to experience. I mean, you feel like you're famous. You walk out of the bus and you can't move because so many people are congratulating you, and all the family, like my gramps, like I said, and mom and Nana, and everyone's there to say congrats, and a lot of people. And we got a big picture, and that was again a standout moment for me to come off that bus and greet the fans and finally give something out of my 5 years to be proud of and come out interior champs for sure, interior champs.
The league final ended a lot shorter than you guys obviously hoped for, and it ended a lot shorter than you guys deserved. I mean, you guys played really tough against PG, going back through some of those numbers. All tight hockey games, to my recollection, 1 and 2 goal differential. That second goal tended to be an empty netter. You guys played the Spruce Kings as tight as anybody. You lost one in overtime in Game 3 at home, which is tough, and then you had Zablocki nearly tied it late in Game 4 to force overtime again. It doesn't go your guys' way. I mean, that series ended quickly. They were an extremely good hockey team and won the Doyle and fell a little short in the national championship. But what do you remember about the Fred Page Cup, albeit 4-game sweep on the wrong side of it? But, I mean, again, something to be proud of because, again, that team was very good and you guys hung with them every night.
Yes, to finally make it to the Freddie and to be there and realize how big a stage it is and important. I mean, it was a step in the right direction, and it was something to be proud of, obviously, and to realize how good PG was and how deep they were. I mean, I think they lost one game that postseason, if I remember right, to Coquitlam. Yeah, so I mean, and their depth and how they played, man, it was so hard to get offense going, and their D were extremely, and oh my, and even their goalie Neaton. I mean, it was hard, man. It was, and to our style of play, I mean, we tried everything possible, and we were there. I mean, both games in Prince George, games 1 and 2, it could have went either way. It was so close, and again, they won 4, but it could have been, the series could have went either way. And they just had lines of everything. I mean, their D and their goalie stand up for sure, and then that big line of Mans and Brar and Causey, that's right. They did some damage, and it was a good challenge. I mean, to make it to the Freddie and realize you're the last 2 teams standing, everyone else is watching you. It was a big step to finally get there, but to lose, yeah, it was sour. But again, to give credit when credit's due, man, they had a hell of a team, and it was a good series.
What did you look back on shortly after that? Obviously, your junior career could not have gone any longer. You ended with a league championship appearance. You, during that season, tie a record, which nobody thought was going to be touched in terms of regular season games played, with Garth Gartner at 233. You get honored that season as well. I mean, my goodness, when you put a bow on a junior career, the numbers are what they are. But I mean, what does a person like yourself think of when the reality is, what's next?
Yes, I mean, the 5 years obviously was nothing but spectacular, and I know I obviously had to move on. I didn't want to, but it was time for me to, obviously. Yeah, but just being a dream come true to play in front of Vernon and realize what's next. Like, this is going to be a big decision. It was tricky again with all the school and with the tech commitment and then trying to go to Alabama, and kind of everything fell through, and being really late last year and not really knowing where I'm going or if I'm even playing hockey, which, as hard as it sounds, coming off such a good junior A career and being a big guy in this community. And I think, yeah, I won Okanagan Athlete of the Year, end of my 20-year-old year. So, I mean, everything was at all-time high, but deep down, it was stressful to I didn't know where I was playing. I mean, the whole summer I was dealing with, all the school and paperwork and just trying to grind through and find solidify a place for me to play so I can relax and calm and, train and get to work. But it was just kind of wake up every day and not knowing where I'm playing, if I'm playing. So, I mean, trying to talk to people and just try and get on a team at this point. I mean, talked to a bunch of people and Troy and Mick helped me out, which was super appreciate, and made a couple phone calls and ended up taking a shot going down to Columbus, Georgia this year. And I mean, yeah, a bunch of stories down there, but a lot of experiences. And I mean, we can talk about that for a little bit, but yeah, just getting used to the pro level in the first year and being so young. Again, the youngest kid on the team again this past year, and just learning and obviously the injury that I had didn't go well, but I learned a lot of lessons and took them.
Pretty crazy to think about. It sort of went under the radar a little bit when it came to where you were going and what you're doing, and it sounds like that's not a big surprise. You didn't know necessarily where you were going to end up for a long part of it. You end up in Columbus, Georgia, and I mean, you go from being the oldest, one of the most leaned on players. I would imagine it was like going all the way back to 14, 15 when you're a rookie. Eyes wide open. It's a professional league. Walk us through the first couple of days where you realized, first of all, holy smokes, I'm technically a professional hockey player. Second of all, there are guys at least 10 years older than me probably on this group too. Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so that was crazy, man. Like, it was such a surreal experience and overwhelming at times. Obviously, being from Vernon, I'm living at home with mom, obviously, in the family, first time moving out. And just being obviously not know where I'm going, or I've never, to be honest, heard of this league or didn't know there was hockey down here. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into all the way down south, like Columbus, Georgia, like it's summer all year round. I really didn't know what to expect. So I just kind of told my mom I'm going to go wing it. And if I don't like worst case scenario, I come back. I mean, best case scenario, I make it and keep going and get called up. But so I go down, grind through training camp, ended up doing pretty well. I felt good. I felt like I was one of the stronger players. Again, with the age, I mean, there's playing with 28-year-old kid from Latvia, 33-year-old. Like, I call him dad. Like, it's again, you're a little kid. Like, I'm a baby. I'm 21 years old playing with 33-year-olds. Like, it is completely different. It again brought me back to my first year in Vernon, but to a bigger extent, right? These are full-grown men that I'm battling in the corner with, and I'm just a little baby. So, but it was cool. So grinded through training camp and made the team, and boys kind of started getting to know the boys, and they're all super nice. I mean, so inviting and made me feel welcome. Obviously, being a little kid, first time leaving home, some of the older guys kind of brought me in, and I was doing well. And first game of the year, we're in Delaware. I believe it's in Connecticut. I'm not the best with geography, but 15-hour bus ride up to Delaware. Friday, we play Friday, Saturday, and Friday, 8 minutes left in the third period. I get tangled up in the corner, and some big D-man landed on my leg and snap, and right away I knew something bad happened. And I thought, I was scared to look down, man. I thought I was compact. Like, I broke a lot of bones, obviously, back, foot, thumb, and there's nothing I could compare this to, man. I was screaming like a little girl. It was embarrassing, but at the same time, I didn't know what to do. So I get to the hospital, call mom, call dad, kind of let them know what's going on. And they played Friday, Saturday. So this was kind of shitty. I had to wait till the team was done Saturday, and we decided for me to get surgery. So I ended up realizing I broke my fibula, broke it right clean. And then they found another fracture in my ankle not at the time in Delaware, while I got home Monday to get surgery. So I took a bus ride home 15 hours, obviously they gave me some good medication, thank God, because it was a grind to get home. My gosh. So got home, got surgery Monday. Mom came up Sunday, which was, I mean, she saved my life. It's mama for a reason. She flew up there right away, and we team hooked us up with the hotel, and mom took care of me for a week after surgery, which was, oh my God, like no sleep every 4 hours. You know, you put your leg down, it was like a bomb. Like it was just a blood pressure. It was tough, man. It was some nights where, you know, sleepless nights, like I need to go back to hospital, like something's wrong. I'm like, this is bad. So she stayed with a week, which is, you know, really saved me. I don't know what I would have done. I think I would have had to come home, but she came up for a week, took care of me. And the coach actually called the season ticket holder, two retired, a couple that took care of me, which again, I can't thank them, Leslie and Robert Landy. So I lived with them. I was only supposed to be with them for, I think my coach said 2 or 3 weeks, you know, get your feet underneath you, you know, get crutches and kind of, you know, find your way around. And then like 5 months, 6 months later, I'm still in the house. So right now I'm literally, I feel like it's like a family now. They got 3 daughters, and one of the daughters has a little kid, Addie. So, I mean, I hung out with them for 6 months. They took me to Panama City Beach. They have a house down on the ocean. We went to Charleston, South Carolina. So, I mean, it was to meet that family and for me to get taken care of and know mom knows I'm in a good spot, because I literally couldn't do anything. I'm asking them, a little funny story. I have to ask them to leave the living room so I can, you know, go bathroom in a bottle because I can't move. I mean, we got comfortable pretty quick, but it was one of those things where I was like, they were tucking me in the bed, like, you know, feeding me. I mean, it was, you know, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where to be. So I spent 6 months with them. Took care of me, rehab. I mean, I think I was 8 or 9 weeks crutches. No, couldn't put my foot down. Not once. No, not allowed before I could toe touch. So 8, 9 weeks, not like I had to elevate, and it was a grind. And then I could toe touch slightly and put my foot down and slowly. So I think it took 12 or 13 weeks before I could actually start slowly physio. So, and I remember talking to my surgeon, and he said, dude, like this was a bad, I mean, you do this 15 years ago, you possibly could have lost your leg. So yeah, so it was a tough surgery, but thankfully they fixed me up. And I mean, 8, 9 months later, I'm on 2 feet, and you know, it's not normal yet, but 6 screws and a big rod in there, a little bionicle, but it's getting there. It's getting stronger, and it's good to be on 2 feet and doing all those little band exercises and just building it back. So a big summer for me for sure.
Plan to go back, perhaps, give hockey another go once you're ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. You know me, I'm done with this sport, no chance. So I'm chomping at the bit. I obviously got to get an X-ray and send it back to my surgeon and get cleared to lightly skate. Obviously once this quarantine and all the doctors and physio and get back to work and start doing that. Yeah, but boy, I'm chomping at the bit to get these skates back on. And it was a tough year, but again, just mentally, I think one thing, just so taxing and learning like so much every day. You got to grind, and I mean, there's some dark days, but you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and just to keep your hopes up. And I mean, I'm gonna be back better and stronger. It was a tough injury, but it happened for a reason again.
You, without question, you've mentioned her a few times. You mentioned your dad a couple of times. I think I'd be pretty remiss if we didn't talk about the support system. Your big family. I mean, your mom sat in front of my family at hockey games, so they got to know each other a little bit. And your dad was never shy to come up and introduce himself. I'll remember the day you broke your thumb in Prince George. He had driven from Grand Prairie to PG, and then he was going back that night. He just wanted to watch you play. I mean, you mentioned the drives from Lumbee to Vernon multiple times a week. I mean, this is your chance to acknowledge them. We know they're going to watch this. Moms and dads watch their sons on YouTube. This is your chance to sort of just recognize the impact that your mom, your dad, and your entire family have had on your career.
Oh man, yeah. Like I wouldn't be here obviously without them. Obviously, mom and dad, through thick and thin, have obviously got me up at 5 a.m. Literally half asleep. They pick me up, throw me in the car, and off to practice we go. I'm just, the day-to-day things. I mean, the pregame meals, the drives. I mean, mom and sister were, no matter where we went my last year, Wenatchee Trail, like they're jumping in the car, winter storm, blizzard, they're coming. So my mom's a pretty big wimp when it comes to snow. So good credit to her to get on the road and drag them along with her. And that last year, I think even Quinn got on board, my little brother. So, I mean, every single one of them had a part to do with it. I mean, even my little brother, asking him, having the boys over, he's got to sacrifice his room, or just the little things. Demi, take care of us, and we're having a little too much fun. So, I mean, mom and dad obviously are the rock, and they've got to hear where I am. But I mean, everyone's had a massive part of sacrifice for me to go have fun and play. And I feel like I gave them a little bit of excitement. I know when I finished here, mom and Demi are like, what are we going to do now? We have no one to chase, no hockey to watch. So, I mean, I think they're proud of me. And I mean, I can't thank them enough. I definitely wouldn't be here without their support from bottom to top. Yeah, for sure.
There were two moments that I can recall where you made national or at least viral impacts on the community. One, the Spinorama that ended up making TSN. So I say kudos to you because you got me on TSN, which is always nice. And then, so we'll talk about that also in the finals, the division finals against Wenatchee. We were told that a little feature on Rogers Hometown Hockey, or Rogers Hockey Night in Canada, they were talking a little bit about the Vipers, and they were talking a little bit about you. They showed that clip again towards the end of your career. I mean, walk us through that goal against Salmon Arm, and it happened to go up against a player, a defender who was your teammate at a time. He scored a big goal that went viral.
Yes, I mean, that was just one of those things where at the time, I mean, I was just completely blackout, and I mean, I get pushed from the back, and just one of those things where you do on 3-on-3 kind of OTRs, messing around. It just happens. I mean, yeah, that was. I mean, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I remember coming back to the bench and Bub saying, like, "Dude, what the heck did you just do?" I go, "Dude, I don't know." Like, it's just another goal. But at the time, I had no idea. And then after, I mean, a day, two goes by, and my phone just starts going bananas, and I get people from like Europe, Sweden, direct message me, and I'm like videos. I like overwhelmed, and probably gained 300-400 followers. I'm like, this is insane. This is crazy. So, and to Booty too, that's pretty funny. Riley Booth is the defender that was kind of. I went around, and it was on Twitter. I think a year or some time goes by, and obviously he's in the video. And someone posted it, and he fired back like, "Don't worry, guys. I've seen this video enough for something." So he was pretty good about it. But it's just one of those things. Like I mean, I tried to do it just for jokes next day after practice, and I couldn't do it. It was just one of those things, or just pushed in momentum, and I just squeaked through the seventh hole, I think. So just one of those things where I guess it happened. Yeah.
As you look back, and I know that when we decided to do this interview. It's longer than most, but longer for good reason. 5-year career. Is there anything that sort of stands out? Top 2, top 3 moments. I'm sure there's a whole bunch that are right there around your favorites. But is there anything that stands out the most? Because you had quite a career with a lot of different big moments in them. Were there any that sort of sit top 1, 2, or 3?
Oh man, that's a great question. Yeah, I would have to say the Civic game. I would say is up there. Is up there for sure in that goal. And another big thing was that Duncan Ray award. That meant a lot to receive that brand new, obviously the first time award and to be announced for the first winner. That was special. That holds up there. I mean, just coming to the rink. They just with a smile on your face, it was just a blast. It was so much fun to be a part of. Trying to think of any other big things. I guess that goal was a highlight that stood out. Yeah, the Civic. I mean, there's just so many great things that happened. Yeah, I'd say that the Ray Award and the Civic game. I mean, and the Freddie, obviously coming out of the interior champs, that was something to be proud of. Yeah, I would say that. It's hard, man. I mean, there's so many different memories and things that stand. I feel like once we end this call, something will pop up that I'll be like, dang, I should have said that. But I mean, yeah, there's just so many great things. It's hard to.
There are obviously lots of people who followed your career from game 1 to game, I lost count, close to 300 by the end of it. Do you have anything to share with the fans? We know that once we reveal, and we haven't done it as you and I are talking, we haven't revealed who the guest of the show is going to be, but we know a lot of people will tune in for this one because you had an impact on so many. Do you have anything you'd like to share with the Viper fans or the people within the community that made a big impact on your career and the fact that a good chunk of them came out to watch every single one of the games that you got to play?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the fans. I mean, you guys are amazing. I think you guys watched me, especially in my 5 years, we went through ups and downs, and I feel like, I mean, you guys wanted to see us win all the time. And I know we didn't do that, but I think the bottom line that we could have done was empty our gas tanks. And I thought that was one thing that you guys respected, was we just came and worked, and no matter what the outcome was, you guys were happy as we just worked hard. I remember all the Boston Pizza talks and conversations, and it doesn't matter what the score, as long as, we were working and back checking and hitting and just trying. They're proud. And I mean, it made it easy showing up to the rink and jumping in front of pucks head first or going in the front of the boards. I mean, for you guys, and when that place got loud, man, I'll remember those times for a long time. And just the community, you met so many great people. I mean, still, Mikey's one of the diehard super fans. I still talk to Mikey all the time and go for coffee with them or whatever. So I mean, it's so cool. You learn, you meet so many great people, and to give back to the community is one thing for me, especially for the young kids, and knowing my hometown and my journey and how much that meant to me. And if I can make a positive impact on any other youth hockey players, I mean, it was just so special. And the fans, I mean, you guys make it so much fun to play in Vernon. I'm going to miss you guys a bunch for sure.
Jagger, we've talked for probably an hour and a half, give or take, but my goodness, it's been a great conversation. It's been fantastic to watch every single one of your games, share in every single one of your moments, whether they're good ones or bad ones. We very much appreciate, and I speak for everybody who's going to tune in to watch this, we really appreciate the time. We wish you all the best with whatever you do. You're one of the best. You're one of the all-time greats to wear a Viper uniform. And man, oh man, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Graham. Thanks for everything. Thanks again. Love and miss you guys all. Stay healthy and protect yourselves, everyone.
Talarico tried to slow it down. Adamson will get to it. Here's Jagger Williamson in on the back end of the middle. He shoots, he scores! Randall shoots the puck in, it bounces, it erupts, and there's a rebound, score! Jagger Williamson.
Walk again, down to Williamson, he scores! Jagger Williamson from the red line, and it's Teddy Monium here at Cal Tire Place. The Vipers power play strikes as the captain puts it home, and it's 2-1.
Digging free to Gallagher. It's poked away, and now Jagger Williamson, who's fresh off the bench, sidesteps to check. Jagger Williamson in on a breakaway. He digs to the back, and he scores! What a goal! Jagger Williamson. Phenomenal effort to shield off two Smoke Eater players. He makes a move to the backhand. Phenomenal effort by the Viper captain, and it's 2-1. 17-17, the crucial goal from the Viper captain. Jump on my back, fellas. I'll take it from here, and that's what he does. Through the Wenatchee zone, Lansdale drop pass, Williamson walks in, he holds, he shoots, he scores! Jagger Williamson gets on the board late. In the second period, Lansdale set him up and into the high slot. He rips it to the blocker's side. The Viper captain has given the Vipers a 2-goal lead. It's 3-1.